I think as a region, if we continue to get our mojo back on and start growing again. We used to track pretty consistently with the same ratio between the population of Pima County and Maricopa County till about 2006. And that's when we flattened and they just went on a boom.
Yeah. They say yes to business.
Business, growth, development, that gives your kids opportunities to stay here. That gives people who live here opportunities to work here. And it makes us a better region because we can reinvest in things like infrastructure. We've got an economic engine being the University of Arizona. We need to figure out how we can get jobs and opportunities in place so that the students that university graduates can stay here. We are a powerhouse in this region on space, technologies, engineering. The country's turning to Arizona and turning to Tucson specifically. We got to be able to turn those into businesses here and then have those businesses grow and have the workforce here to let them grow here, stay here, and contribute here.
Welcome to The Upside. My name is Edmund Marquez. We are sponsored today by the Heath team at Nova Home Loans, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and Lumify Creative Agency. Manny's amazing at Lumify. Welcome. Again, if you've seen any of our podcasts, this is basically me having lunch with one of my buddies. And today my buddy is General Ted Maxwell and the president of the Southern Arizona Leadership Council. Welcome, Ted.
Thanks, Edmund. I think this is going to be a fun conversation. I have no idea what you're going to want to talk about, but I guess I'll find out real quick.
Get ready, baby.
There we go.
Actually, I want to start with you because I think the audience deserves to know about you. Major General, ran the Arizona National Guard. Air National Guard.
I was commander of the Arizona National Guard.
34 years in the military.
Yes, sir.
Flew F-16s.
Yes, sir.
Tell us just a bit about that and start with your very first time you ever controlled the F-16 yourself.
The first time I ever controlled the F-16 myself, I had an instructor pilot in my back, and it was at Luke Air Force Base in 1989.
Can you ever throw up when you're the pilot?
It'd be not highly recommended.
Okay.
But the answer is yes. I mean, my flying career after I graduated from the Air Force Academy in '84, and I came to Williams Air Force Base.
And who was on stage with you when you graduated?
Speech. Reagan.
Yes, baby.
Yep. It was a great. He spoke. Gave us his speech, his commencement speech, and then he stood on stage and shook all 988 graduates.
That's awesome.
That walked across the stage.
As governor of California, or not president?
President of the United States.
Oh my gosh.
How old do you think I am?
I'm old. You got white hair, man.
That was in 1984.
Oh my God.
I graduated in '84.
Okay.
Came down here in '85. Went to Williams Air Force Base. At the time,
Yeah.
I wasn't qualified to fly fighters because I was on an I waiver, which they eventually ruled was illegal.
What's an I waiver?
My vision wasn't 2050.
Oh, damn.
Correctable.
You were flying our F-16s.
But it was correctable to 2020. But during the course of the next 3 years, when I was an instructor pilot in Phoenix at Williams, out in the Mesa Gilbert area, they determined that was an illegal waiver. That if you're a pilot, you're a pilot. If you're correctable at 2020, you're correctable at 2020. So I had the opportunity, and I got selected to fly F-16s. And the first time I ever did that was in October of. Oh, no, sorry. It would have been 6 months prior, in March of '89. And that was at Luke Air Force Base with an instructor in the back, and it's phenomenal. But to your question about throwing up in the cockpit, it's highly, doesn't make for you to be a good pilot. And you actually end up washing out of pilot training when it happens. But I've known some friends who have gotten through pilot training despite throwing up, just not letting their instructors know they were throwing up. And most of the time,
in their mask.
Most of the time, those folks end up flying the heavier aircraft, the C-5, C-141s versus the ones that are going to be rolling and banking and upside down and doing all the fun stuff.
Nice. So 34 years in the military. Thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
And then I met you as you came to Southern Arizona Leadership Council in 2013.
Correct.
At that time, General Ron Shoopman was our president of SALC. So that's got to be the connection. We went from general to general. You came in 2013, took the helm in 2018.
Correct. I took over as the full-time president in 2017. I was talking to Ron about an issue that was going out at the base. We were having a problem with the airport at the time, and I'd always hear, well, previous commanders agreed to this. Previous commanders agreed to that. Well, I know all the previous commanders, so I went sought them out and eventually worked my way to Ron, who was running Southern Arizona Leadership Council. And then at the very end, I said, hey, Ron, when are you going to, when you retired, how'd you find this job? And I mean, I knew I wanted to stay
you
in
wanted the
Tucson.
job.
I wanted to stay in Tucson.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in Pima County. I'd fallen in love with this region. When I separated after 15 years in the active duty Air Force, and I joined the Tucson Air National Guard, so the Arizona Air National Guard that's flying out of the airport, one of the most highly decorated and largest guard units in the country.
I did not know that.
That's the only one that has. We're one of the few states that has multiple flying missions because we have the tanker unit up in Phoenix. We've got now a Reaper or a drone unit that's over
Is
at
it
the
called
Davis
Reapers?
Mountain. That's the newer ones.
Scary. All right.
And then you have the F-16 unit, which is now the largest F-16 unit in the world, is at Tucson International Airport. And it turned out to be a great place. I was going to do 5 years and leave because I always thought Tucson was quirky, and I didn't think I'd want to sit down, stay here. I'm never leaving. It is quirky. It's got its challenges, but I really enjoy it. And so when I went to Ron and he told me his story, he said, "Why, are you going to retire?" And I said, "Yeah, at least in the next 2 years." And he said, "Can you retire right now?" I said, "Yeah." And the bottom line is on the Friday, he offered me a job. Monday, I accepted it, put in my retirement paperwork. But Governor Brewer reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to be the commander of the Arizona Air National Guard 2 weeks before my official retirement date." And then Governor Ducey reappointed me into that position. And so it was a perfect transition from military to the civilian world because I was working, as you know, full-time at SLC, predominantly in infrastructure and policy and issues like that. And at the same time, 1 day a week, I went up to Phoenix and was the commander of the Arizona Air National Guard.
Nice.
So it was great.
Lucky to have you at SLC. For those that are watching, that's the Southern Arizona Leadership Council. We were started in the
1997.
I was going to say 80s. 1997, people like Hank Amos, Steve Lynn,
Cy Shore,
some of the amazing
Bruce
leaders
Beach,
we've had. Yes.
Yeah, Larry Aldridge. There were 7 founders and 35 original members in 1997. They felt the Tucson 40 had become too much of a social entity promoting social causes, and they wanted to get back to an organization that was business oriented.
Yes.
That wanted to change public policy to make a strong economic environment, because in the eyes of SLC, the way you address issues that you have in your region, crime, poverty, homelessness, is through jobs and opportunity.
Yeah.
It's through creating an economy that's going to roll. And so they started at 35 members in 97. We're up to about 100, just over 150. Obviously, you are a member of this SLC, and we
the chair
appreciate
membership.
that.
So we're growing it.
You chair the membership.
So we're at 150 now?
We're over 150.
Where were we in 2013?
2013, when I came in, we were at 108.
Okay, so we definitely have grown. And it's
Absolutely.
good. It's an influential room. I like to say it's the room of rooms when you're in Tucson. This is going to air later, but we were at our SALC meeting this morning, and it's the room of rooms. We had Eileen Klein speaking this morning from an initiative that's statewide to just kind of have a business approach and look at our growth and look at our prosperity as a state. And I thought she did a very nice job. But when you look at SALC, for those watching, give me top 3 successes since you've been the president of SALC.
Well, since I've come in, the most recent one is the reauthorization of RTA Next.
Yeah, which is necessary, needed.
Which was huge because in 2006, people forget this region voted down road and infrastructure plans multiple times. I think once in the 60s and 70s, 80s. Mm-hmm. We could just never get the next step, but everybody keeps going, well, why aren't we have more business attraction? Why aren't more people here? Why are our roads so bad? But nobody wanted to do it. And in 2006, Rick Myers, who had just been the president and the chair of SALC, he led the campaign in 2006. We finally got a 20-cent tax authorization. But like Tucson, I really wasn't totally confident we'd reauthorize it when we did this year. It was coming up on expiring. So that was a huge lift, and the community got behind it. And I like to say the silent majority turned out to vote in a March election, and it passed real easily. One of the big things that's not directly related to business and infrastructure is the creation of the Making Action Possible dashboard. Mm-hmm. So SALC, the Community Foundation, and the University of Arizona, so a business organization, a traditional nonprofit, and the university to be the trusted agent, we put together a plan to create an index and a website that takes data, confirmable, repeatable data. People go, oh, but it's not current. Yeah, sometimes it lags a year because you have to, if you're going to compare 12 different municipalities, you have to make sure that the data is accurate. It's data that they poll the federal government or it polls on a routine basis, and then you can compare them. And so we're comparing ourselves on that site to cities like Phoenix, San Diego, Denver. Okay, yeah, maybe they're a little bit bigger, but they've got things that we might want to be aspirational for.
Portland's on that list.
Portland's
El Paso.
Colorado Springs,
Yep.
Albuquerque. So it's a good way to weight us. And I remember when it first came out, at the time, Mayor Rothschild was livid because one of the first things they showed was it not only has the 36 indicators that are constant, but it's also sometimes does spotlights on one. And one was the pothole index. And it showed at the time we were in the bottom 2 as ranked by an agency that measures that.
Out of how many?
Out of I would think it was every city over like 100,000. It was just terrible. And he was so pissed off. We're going, we just teed up a softball for you. We teed this up. You fix these potholes. And guess what the city then did? In response to it, they went out and that was Prop 101,
Yep.
50% of it. And now you started seeing improvement. Still a long way to go. Infrastructure's tough. There's not enough money in infrastructure, but that's a whole other discussion. So I look at those as, since I've been here, those were the 2 big ones. Now, there's been a ton of them. We had somebody come up to us today talking about, not from this region, says, well, I remember down here, you guys actually, when the CAP water first came here, nobody wanted to be in the pipes. It was the old Beaudry water wars.
Beaudry versus Click.
Beaudry versus Click. Mr. Click was a member of SLC, but
Click won.
And SLC got behind it and won. So there's a whole string of things that you can see where we take a view on infrastructure, education, healthcare, governance, that we just try to set the table for better public policy that's going to both create a vibrant economy, but more importantly, it's going to improve everybody's quality of life.
Yeah. Let's talk about SLC for a second. So for those watching, I like to do a sidebar. So who's in the room? Well, you have to have your major employers. You have your Raytheon. I sat next to Karthik today, who's the Dean of Eller. The big companies. I sat next to Crest Insurance this morning. We also have large nonprofits. I sat next to Curtis Dawson from the YMCA. So it's the bigger organizations, mostly with more skin in the game than most. And then it's community leaders like myself. I mean, why the hell am I in the room? I have an Allstate agency, and the Sugar Skulls. Allstate agency, typically Allstate agents are not in the room, but if you're a leader and you're in the trench and you care about this community, you're in this room. But this is an invite-only room, not like a secret society or fraternity, but we literally seek out the leaders that are wanting to get into the trench, to roll up their sleeves, to get involved in this community. And it's tough sometimes.
Well, and
right?
it's a great segue. We used to have a lot of headquarters that were based in Tucson. And now we've got Mr. Car Wash. We've got regional headquarters, obviously TEP, but it functions, and Unisource is headquartered here, but it's part of a bigger conglomeration. There's been so much consolidation. We had a lot of that leave. So we've got 3 different categories, those big companies, then the ones that you came in where you have to be a proven leader in the community already. When you chair the membership committee now, and as you know, when members nominate folks in the community to come in, they've got to be not only business oriented, where they know they understand the value of the economy, but they've also got to be willing to be involved and engaged. So it's not a chamber. You can't just call up and say, I want to be in this category. It's something that we try to get people who are willing to speak up, as you do quite often, get involved. Rio Nuevo. I mean, you look around and there's a lot of our membership that serves on organizations and entities, commissions, to include, ones at the state level. Prior to my taking on the role as the Pima County representative on the Arizona State Transportation Board, it was Mike Hammond, SALC member. Before that, it was Steve Christie, SLC member, before he became a politician. And before that, Cy Shore, Cy was part of the group that put together the original RTA. So we need people who are willing to bring together their leadership, because I'm a retired general officer, but that's not why people will listen to what I say. It's because I've got so many members who are actively involved in the community already and want to make this a better region, and they are willing to contribute their resources, their dues, and then they've got a say in what we advocate for. They've got a say in what we need to change. And a lot of times people say, oh, but that's not a good policy. But I think when you unwind it, you're going to find it's a good policy because it's going to promote growth, jobs, and opportunity. And you look at every problem we've got right now in this region. Homelessness has been on the rise. yes, you bet there's other things that play into it. The fentanyl situation's, out of control. And there's serious mental health. That's it too. But there's also those folks that are homeless because they don't have good quality jobs.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a strong, vibrant economy, you're not going to have good quality jobs.
Yeah, the key to a strong economy are high-paying jobs. You know something interesting. One of my favorite parts of this morning, I will actually say my favorite part of this morning, was when Carrie Sylvan got up and she said there are positions on boards and commissions that are unfilled, and we need to find the leaders to fill these boards and commissions. That's what SALC is all about. It's about getting people to step up. So let's go back to RTA, because in my I'm going to say my 13 years, my 13 or 14 years at SALC, being a paid member, paying my dues, being in the room, being involved, I think the RTA is even though it's something that just recently happened, is the biggest accomplishment we've had. And RTA, I will say on this podcast, RTA doesn't pass without SALC. Period. We were the energy behind it. We were the organization behind it. We were holding people accountable. I served on the Citizen Advisory Committee. You served on the actual board, and we continued to push because we were screwed if we didn't pass the RTA bill. Period.
There's no funding for infrastructure.
Period.
In the state.
There's no
we
paving, nothing.
The gas tax hasn't changed since 91.
Which I disagree with, and I'm a Republican. I disagree with that.
Agreed. And it doesn't mean we have to raise taxes to do it, but we have to come up with some source of funding. And there's actually Republicans and Democrats we're talking to right now that understand that. Because the last time we addressed funding at the state level was in 91. The last time we addressed funding at the federal level through their gas tax was 93. And historically, the federal government's not good at funding infrastructure either. It's not what everybody thinks of until they're in the road where they're stuck in traffic or their car just blew a tire because of a pothole or are in an accident caused by the conditions of the roads. Then all of a sudden it becomes a priority.
Right.
But the RTA, we talk about the comparison of the growth and things that have happened in the Phoenix area. And one of the things that ironically you hear, why does Phoenix have such good roads? Well, Phoenix just approved their third 20-year half-cent sales tax.
They just passed their third RTA, basically, in the Phoenix area. And we're not, before everyone freaks out, we're not trying to be Phoenix. Forget the freeways and all. We just want a paved road, right? Or maybe pull the weeds out of a median, or give me a right-hand turn lane. Give me a bus turnout.
The most important thing that we did over a year and a half, and you said RTA being the biggest thing, and I fully agree with you.
Oh, thank you.
Because of one SLC's role, but also we've been talking about this for 6 years.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get it to a position for 6 years, and it came all the way down to the wire before we could get in front of the voters. We had one shot to get it through the voters. But the idea of having a crosstown freeway or multiple options,
it's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's gone years ago.
So what do you have to have? You have to have roads and infrastructure that's going to let you efficiently and effectively get from one side of the town to the other. And people don't realize when we did the polling over a year ago, the number one source of transportation for every demographic, regardless of party, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of household household incomes, even households that were bringing in less than $30,000 annually. And you think about that. That's their number one mode of transportation was a vehicle.
Of course.
A car vehicle. And don't forget, transit also uses the roads, but their number one mode was an automobile.
I served on the Citizen Advisory Committee, and there were people on the committee.
And thank you for that.
Yeah,
because that was a chug.
It sucked.
That was tough.
It sucked to serve on because we had people in the room that were so pro-transit. They didn't want to put a single dollar into the roads because they just expect everyone to take the bus. And it's not happening, especially with the way the buses are today, with the free bus fare and the type of demographic, unfortunately, that's now riding the bus as well. It's become a little bit more dangerous, but people are going to drive their cars, period.
It's the vehicle of choice. One, because of timing, convenience. We're a spread out rural community. We want to say we're an urban core. You understand the urban core. From your work in Rio Nuevo, you get what the urban core is. 426 square miles is the city of Tucson. You can't have all walkable neighborhoods. Now, you can have pockets of walkable neighborhoods, and you can ensure that Anybody who wants to get around by bicycle has good. I mean, you're a biker, so you want not only good roads to do it, but you want some of the paths that keep you out of the way of cars.
Yeah.
We can ensure that our community has all that. But 426 miles of the city of Tucson, over 9,000 square miles.
Yeah.
And that's square miles, by the way, not just miles. 9,000 square miles in Pima County.
Yeah, and I was glad that they worked some maintenance into the RTA.
Yeah.
I fought it at the beginning because there's so much need. So
That was a big change.
I was on the
That was a
original
big
Citizen Advisor Committee back when Rick Myers ran it in '96.
Did not know
so I
that.
served on both. It was a lot more friendly of a conversation on the original, a little more contentious in this most recent. But we also had track record also, and they could lean against what's happened or the deals that didn't happen that were supposed to happen.
Right.
But there was COVID that happened.
Everybody knew
right?
we needed something in 2005.
Yeah.
Everybody knew we needed something.
Right.
I mean, in 2004, the Tucson trolley had been on the ballot, failed.
Yeah.
They had other transit things fail. So the transit folks realized they needed it. It was really funny. At the 10-year anniversary of the streetcar, there was a bunch of people that spoke, and I got up and spoke on behalf of the Regional Transportation Authority Board and the PAG RTA Board, and two truly strong transit advocate got up and said, without the streetcar, there'd be no RTA. And I sat there right after I spoke, and I sat down and I went, all right, Bob, I understand that. I said, but Bob, you know what? Without RTA, there would be no streetcar.
Yeah, can I, for a sidebar, just tell the audience, so many people say streetcar needs to go to the airport. It needs to cross town. It will never do that. It's I forget the amount of money it was like $18 million per mile or something. It took the largest Tiger grant in the history of the United States at the time for us to get a streetcar. And in regards to the streetcar, it's kind of like a bus, but it's on rails. It just costs 100 times more per mile. It's never going to the airport.
And you still have advocates that would love to see that happen. But you saw in this RTA Next, even the city on their ideas of how to get efficient, effective transportation from downtown, from the hotels, from the urban core to the airport. They're looking at bus rapid transit, which is significantly reduced cost because you're using buses, but you're using dedicated lanes and you're using other things. That's got a series of challenges, but I think as a region, if we continue to get our mojo back on and start growing again.
Yeah.
And I mean in population, the meeting this morning that you referenced already, we looked at it. We used to track pretty consistently with the same ratio between the population of Pima County and Maricopa County till about 2006. And that's when we flattened, and they just went on a boom.
Yeah.
And
they say yes to business.
That's the key. And the thing that people have, I think it's important for people to understand is business, growth, development, that gives your kids opportunities to stay here. That gives people who live here opportunities to work here. And it makes us a better region because we can reinvest in things like infrastructure that's going to break down. It's going to wear out. You have to have money and growth, and in some cases taxation. It's Rio Nuevo, driven by the half-cent sales tax, and your investments in Rio Nuevo have made the Rio Nuevo tax revenues significantly increase in the last 10 years.
Amen. So this podcast is called The Upside. So tell us the upside. Where's SALC headed? What's the good news for our community?
Well, the upside for our community is we've got now a regional transportation taxation in place. We've got issues on infrastructure being addressed. We still need to resolve, the water, the energy. There's a lot of infrastructure, but we've got an economic engine, and we've got so many opportunities here. The economic engine being the University of Arizona. We need to figure out how we can get jobs and opportunities in place so that the students that university graduates can stay here. We are a powerhouse in this region on space and technologies, engineering. Those two factors alone, you look around, the country's turning to Arizona and turning to Tucson specifically for our ability to create telescopes and lenses and focal. I mean, there's so many things that in the world of space, and the next frontier is space.
Yeah, you see the smile on my face?
Yeah.
You and Michael Guyman had the same answer. Our biggest area of opportunity is the University of Arizona.
Absolutely.
We also got to modernize the silos within the U of A, remove the imaginary walls so businesses can more easily do business with the U of A. But they are a big upside
And
for
the
us.
ability for that business that's being done at the U of A also, there's, new inventions, new ideas. We got to be able to turn those into businesses here. And leveraging that, unless we also have growth in jobs and opportunity, it's going to be for naught.
And an educated workforce.
A prepared, educated
Yeah.
workforce. And that's a little different, is we've got to have people that are prepared to step right from their education, whether it's at the U of A, whether it's from high school, JTED, PCC, straight into jobs.
Yep.
And entrepreneurism will continue to be on the rise. And we want folks here locally coming up with ideas and developing businesses, and then have those businesses grow and have the workforce here to let them grow here, stay here, and contribute here.
Amen. I agree with you. No wonder I'm a member of SALC.
Yeah.
You're right on. Well, thank you very much for being here. This has been fantastic. I could talk to Ted forever. I was actually on his radio show yesterday, so it's 2 days in a row. I'll meet you somewhere
2 days
tomorrow. But thank you very much for watching The Upside. Again, thank you, Ted, so much. You're brilliant. So glad you're here. I know you're supposed to retire in 2 years. We'll rip up your contract and just keep going. But thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to the Heath team at Nova Home Loans, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, Lumify Creative Agency. Thank you for watching The Upside. I'm Edmund Marquez.